finish this.
Okay, this is a video to discuss the Berserker Condi. The new Heart of Thorns update has given us warriors who like to focus on Condi a massive upgrade. But before, Condi was kind of irrelevant on warriors. It wasn't so good. Usually you just have to hit hard, and Condi was left to other classes. A lot of people have been saying that Heart of Thorns, the Berserker new trait line, has been pretty poor for warriors. I have to disagree. And this video is to discuss the new Berserker build I've been running, mainly in PvP. This is what I've been testing it on. I think it will probably shine the most in solo roaming on Wobbly World. I'll be testing it out quite extensively over the coming months or so, I should think. Its team play isn't too great for PvP, and of course PvP is sort of about objective based things, and what this really excels at is 1v1s. It is one of the strongest 1v1 classes I've ever played, and it can really spit out the damage quite hard with some sustain to it. It's not bulky. You can hold the point with it with maybe two people, but it's not going to be lasting more than 30 seconds if two people are trying to focus you down. It's more doing damage than receiving damage. So let's talk about this build. The new Berserker trait line, most people know by now, crate runes are the way to go. A lot of this build synergy revolves all around the runes of the crate. As you see, there's a lot of bleeding duration there, a lot of condition damage. This rune, the main point of it is to use the elite skill. This is no big secret. Everyone thought of crate runes as soon as they saw that the headbutt had a 20-second cooldown. They're thinking elite would work. But what people don't realize with crate runes is the bleeding duration. It has 25% bleeding duration plus a 20% there, so it's actually 45% bleeding duration. So your bleeds are going to be doing a horrendous amount of damage, and they're not going to be going anywhere. So this build focuses on bleeds, and also it has perplexing strike. So it's bleeds and confusion are where you're going to be doing your damage. You may be thinking Berserker is all about burns. Burns are a nice icing on the cake. You see, I do have some burns like with rage and stuff, but they're not really where you get your damage from. The damage on this Condi build is from bleed and confusion. I tend to run Carrion Amulet. The vitality and obviously condition damage is really good. The 900 power there, that's actually got some nice use to it, particularly things like Ellie's with stone skin. The power there is enough to get the headbutt there, or the bull's charge, then leading into headbutt, to crack the stone skin. Because I've had a few instances in Wobbly World where I've come across on my old build that didn't have any power. It was pure condition damage and precision. I was fighting Ellie with stone skin, and that wasn't fun. So I've made sure I've put some power on this one, but that's pretty good. So I will be running the torch for this build. I've been desperate to try out the new builds and use the new weapons I've been given. So the warrior may sound like not a particularly good one. We only get torch, it adds 2 more skills, but they're actually fairly good skills. You've got Blaze Breaker there, which is nice range, because this doesn't actually have any range attacks like weapons. So to have some distance that you can reach out and touch people with is actually pretty good. But Flames of War is on 20-second cooldown. This is a super good skill for this build. It gives you a mobile fire field which burns. It's not so much the burns that are doing damage. The cleanse is a little lacking on this build, so to have something on a 20-second cooldown that has 2 conditions removes is really good. And what's more is there's a lot of leaps in this class, so it's quite easy to get a fire shield on the go, which has some nice synergy with some other stuff. So we've got sword torch, and on the other hand we've got mace shield. The reason I run Mace Shield and Sword Torch in this particular way is Sword Torch has some great mobility to it. It has some great setup ability, but if everything goes wrong, I found that Mace Shield has some great sustain to it, and with these trait lines and everything, and the way I run and the utility, this particular setup actually has 7 CCs to it, which if somebody's running like a stack of, like somebody pops a balance stance on you, you can just burst down that balance stance in like 2 seconds flat and then stun them 2 seconds on top of it. It's pretty funny. It can burn through a lot of stacks of stability, and stability is not very nice on this character, so I've made sure that I have options to go to where I have sustain and ability to break the stability. Of course, sailing that, you've also got Bull's Charge and Savage Leap, just in case you're facing somebody with like cantrips or something with 10 stability. You do have that option to get out of dodge with some quite nice physical moves there to get out of town. I should say the sigils I run on this, I tend to run 2 sets of energy. That's sort of work in progress. I prefer to have two energy sigils. They don't overlap too often, and I just like the ability to, if I need to roll right now, I can always just switch, and most of the time I'll get that boost able to roll. So that's why I tend to run these, even though synergy isn't good. I suppose once I get better at the class and I learn offhand without even looking which one of these has the sigil of energy, then I won't have to worry about if I can switch or not, and when I need to get that burst of adrenaline, endurance. The other 2 are Sigil of Leeching on the mace. This is less important. That's mainly because obviously the mace shield is where I go to have some sustain, so to just have that little bit of extra life, it only adds up to about 800 health. But so many times I've gone down to the mace and there's been like little ticks of stuff when I'm at like 1,000 hit points, and I manage to hit the mace, and then they get a lucky hit on me, and it brings me down to like 200 health. So that 800 health when you're up against the wall actually counts for a lot if you're playing good with the mace shield. So that's where I went with Sigil of Leeching. Sigil of Geomancy. The Sigil of Geomancy is actually super good. It is. With this build, it has very fast weapon swapping, which I'll get onto later. With crate runes, this does a lot of damage, and it's because the cast time is instant pretty much, and you can do it while doing other things because you're weapon swapping, you're Bull's charging or whatever. It has some great synergy with stuff. So the Sigil of Geomancy is a must on this build. I would recommend it, definitely. You could run it on both, although unlike the Sigil of Energy, I have found that it doesn't really proc as much, and it's less important to proc than the Sigil of Energy when you need it. So that's pretty much the equipment I've got here. Now let's move on to the traits. And the traits are they've got a lot of synergy to them, and it's very hard. I didn't know where to start talking about this build, because there's no part of this build that I can just start talking about without having to say, oh, but it links into this other thing I'll talk about later. So we'll just start as we go along. You have Strength, Discipline, and of course Berserker, which you have to run if you want to use your utilities there. Dodge roll is always nice. We've got Physical Performance. Peak skills do more damage based on how much adrenaline you have. Usually I open Bull's Charge as an opener, so you won't be doing too much damage with it, although the power is nice, of course. But what it really does is the recharge. The recharge on the Bull's Charge is 32 seconds. If you take it off, it goes up to 40 seconds. So I like to have it on 32 seconds. And the crate runes there have their elite proc on elite is actually 30 seconds, I believe. So if I use a Bull's Charge and then use my elite, I can see when it's going to proc back again, because if Bull's Charge is recharged, then the crate runes are recharged. So it's a nice little signal to me that I'm ready to go again. You got burst skills with restore endurance on hit. This is another reason why I'm kind of a bit. I might change some of the sigils on this, because I get a lot of endurance with this build, and there's a lot of rolling around, so it's pretty good, I guess. Now here's where the real Condi starts stacking up. These three traits here, no, not that one. These two traits here are where most of your damage comes from. Now body blow is really good. I can see there. It's got some weakness there. Weakness is a fantastic sustain skill, but obviously it adds 2 seconds of bleed, 2 stacks of bleed. So you're doing nearly 2k of damage with every body blow you do. And as I mentioned earlier, you have 7 CCs in a row here. 7, that's 14 stacks of bleed, and the enemy is doing nothing but just being interrupted and screwed around with. So that is an amazing trait. That's where most of your damage is going to come from. Then gaining damaging, that's kind of funny when you roll into someone and hit someone with a mace, but distracting strikes also work extremely well with body blow. So these two traits together with the mace shield works so amazingly well. You will see people tend to just melt instantly. You tend to just storm into them, stun them a bit, and then walk away, and before they know it, they have a horrendous amount of conditions on them. And people are expecting burning with Berserker, but these two strikes here are what really set it apart. And before I was using this build, I was going for the same sort of setup, but Berserker's way of doing things these days means that it's all the more powerful. Alright, we want discipline for your second one. The main reason to this is it adds a little bit of sustain and utility that the build desperately needs. Of course you get adrenaline and weapon swap. This is actually fantastic. I can't tell the amount of times that I've gone in, I've hit a bloody roar, I've hit the Berserker rage, I've used the Skullcrack on one, and as I switched, you're literally one strike away from doing the next attack, the next F1 skill on your rage. So having this is actually super good. Moving on to Warrior's Sprint, move faster when using a melee weapon. This is actually amazing. People tend to dismiss movement speed, but you have no access to actual swiftness on this build. So to have something that means you move faster, and you always have melee weapons in your hand, there's no range weapons in this build. So to have something which automatically just gives you speed is amazing. But what's really good is that movement skills remove immobilize. So if somebody decides to pin you down and try and burst you, Bull's Charge and Savage Leap are great escapes, really. Or even if they're trying to use it as a defensive move, then they're not going to get away from Bull's Charge, just train wrecking them down, because you've got the ability to catch up with them, and there's nothing they can do really about it. Weapon swap charges faster, that is excellent. Now, this is why I run Sigil of Geomancy, because it's just access to more bleed, it's access to more adrenaline. I keep on saying adrenaline, I keep on meaning endurance. Weapon swapping is so fantastic. It means you have access to your abilities when you need them, how you need them. It's fantastic. Unfortunately, the last bits of discipline don't really do much. You got gain weight, might, and weapon swap. Burst skills are charged 15% faster. That is actually kind of useful, because sometimes you can get a second skull crack or something, or skull grinder in there before you lose your Berserker stance. So that's kind of useful, and of course you are swapping a lot, so might stacks do well with the power condition burst we got going on. But burst mastery, it's kind of, you're using it because there isn't a lot more to use here. Burst skills do more damage and restore proportion of adrenaline. It's not very useful. You can do a skull grinder and swap, and that way you can use another one. But I would prefer if it was something else, but you have to pick one, and I know I'd pick this one if I was there. So the damage increase is pretty funny. When you do a flat 2000 damage or 2020 damage on a hit that is basically a Condi build, that just makes me laugh a lot. So moving on to the Berserker traits now. Obviously the first one is just the obvious Berserker move, but Last Blaze, when you use a rage skill, set nearby foes on fire. This is one of the only places you can actually get burn. You got burn applied for the fire field and blazebreaker there, but to have these burst skills add burning on top of it, it just means that it is one more condition they have to cleanse in order to get to your body blows and your distracting strikes. Your confusion and your bleed is camouflage in the burns. So you might think burns do a lot of damage, but I mean, body blow there does 1,816 damage. You got the burn there, just 1,100. So even though people dismiss bleed and say it's about burning, body blows are easier to do than most of these utility skills when activating rage. So what you're looking at is bleed doing more damage, and burn is camouflaging the bleed. This build has recently been changed and in my opinion nerfed, but this is one of the things that actually was a benefit to the Condi warrior. That is, you get 7% more condition damage. The 7% damage isn't too bad either, but always angry will proc a lot, and it certainly helps with your burst on the Berserker. So this was a nice little change they added there. It is a boon to us. The second trait line, you can go with either one of these two. I prefer to go with the torch skill because it doesn't have a whole lot of cleanse here, so being able to use flames of war to cleanse yourself when you need it is kind of handy, and the condition damage is nice too. They've also changed this one so that you can berserk and go to fatal damage, and it will heal you up by 5,000, which is not so bad actually. That's quite a lot of health. You can do a lot with that, but I still prefer to run this one. I might run this one a while. It might help with some of the sustain on points and stuff, so that can either go either way. I should just mention that these two here are also pretty damn good. Breaking stuns is kind of okay, and removing conditions. I mean, if you run this, you might want to run this one because you're not so conditioned on using breaking stuns on your and removing cleanse on the torch. So it's either or really how you want to go. And Smash Brawler is also kind of good. I suppose you could run Smash Brawler and this, the Burst Mastery. That might be very good actually. There'll be if both of these are active, then you will be hitting Skull Runners a lot. So either or really, but the main point to all this really, also you get a lot of quickness when you enter Berserker mode, but the main point of this is these trait lines here. Most people would, if they're doing Condi, be tempted to use King of Fires, which is actually recently buffed. It used to be 20% or so, now it's up to 33%. Unless you're doing a very specific build to get burning and to use critical hits, I wouldn't use this. What I would use is Bloody Roar. This has been nerfed pretty hard for Condis recently. It used to apply 4 stacks of bleeding, which was absolutely amazing. It was an area effect, 4 stacks of bleeding, 6k damage, 5 targets, you can't dodge roll it. It was pretty damn strong. Unfortunately they took it off. It is still absolutely worth taking, and I would suggest it would be the one to take. Eternal Champion, we have access to this ability. I wouldn't take that so much, and you're not going to get stunned too much, I wouldn't think. So I would take Bloody Roar, mainly because the taunt with distracting strikes and body blow mean it's very easy to interrupt somebody, and if you manage to interrupt somebody, that's 4 stacks of confusion, and it does count as a body blow with another 2 bleed. So if you can imagine back when it was I had the bleed, that was 6 stacks of bleed just straight up there. So I mean that's a free shattering blow. So it's almost a shame that they took that round. I mean, I thought it was a little bit broken, and I'm not very surprised that it was changed. I'm surprised why it was changed. It's because people thought it wasn't very good, when actually it was OP in my opinion. So it's good that it was changed. It was just a bit of a kick in the teeth as to why it was changed. But Bloody Roar is what you want to do, and the taunt really helps because you have quickness on your Berserk, so you activate Bloody Roar, you get quickness, and then you pop a Skull Grinder on your Mace F1 while in Berserk, and they're usually still taunted, so that's always going to connect. Obviously stability wrecks this, but as you can see, as I've mentioned it several times before, you got Pummel Bash, Shield Bash, you got Bull's Charge, you got a Headbutt, you also have the F1 Skull Attack, and you have Berserker, which would activate the Taunt, and then you have that would recharge the Skull Crack into Skull Grinder, and that would be your 7th CC. So you have so much CC here, it's very hard to keep it up. Only a well-organized team, or perhaps cantrips, or a Reaper that's been attacking something a lot, would have the stability to really try and stop you there. And as I've been saying, you have the utility to get out of dodge if they have a lot of stability, and then you kind of don't have to worry about actually dealing with them, and you can wait for the stability to wear off for you. And don't forget, you've also got the shield stance, so you've got 3 seconds of that stability to wear off. So this is the traits lines I selected there. I tend to go with to the limit, mainly because I do have a lot of adrenaline with this build, and if I don't have a lot of adrenaline, I want a lot of adrenaline. So I tend to go with to the limit. It's got 1 second cast time, which is kind of easy to interrupt, but it's not too bad. Now this is, you may think that Shattering Blow is easy to get rid of, but I'll be honest, I was using this build and I wasn't getting much done with it until I used Shattering Blow. I cannot stress how important Shattering Blow is. You do not have many ways of getting, you have Bull's Charge and you have Savage Leap. These are your only real closers as such. I mean, you got the Blaze Breaker there, but to have something that has a reflect for people trying to peg you down from range is super good. And I was using it, and I managed to get an entire team in the shockwave of it. And because it only affects bleed, it puts a little bit of burn on there, which goes pretty quick. But 14 seconds of bleed there, I managed to nail a whole bunch of people with it. And because it's only 1 stack, no one bothered to cleanse it. And before they know it, that's 5 people down 5 grand of HP. So I would recommend Shattering Blow. It's on a 15-second cooldown. It is super fast. It is super good. It does burn, does bleed. It is amazing. It's also got nice base damage there. So this is what I recommend. Bull's Charge, I've already pointed out. It adds ability. It adds a way to get out of there. It adds an interesting closer. It's CC. It also gives a leap, so you can activate your Flames of War. You can leap through it. You can get a fire shield, and you can quick switch into block, and then you got a fire shield while you're blocking. People are getting burnt. You're getting might. There is so much synergy with this class. It is fantastic. Now the balance stance, I tend to use balance stance a lot because I don't trust the block, especially with necros around, to put a fear well underneath my feet while I'm blocking. So I tend to have balance stance just so I'm not screwed around with. In my opinion, I think this is the only skill that could really be swapped out. I find myself wishing I had balance stance and kicking myself when I don't have it, but a lot of the time it's sitting there unused as I'm going around my business, and it's like my least used skill. So it's a very situational one there. You could even use what's this one? Wild Blow. Wild Blow is kind of funny, and on a 100% critical chance on a power Conley build like this is kind of amazing because I have no critical chance, and there's a lot of adds CC, adds burning, so that might be good, but personally I prefer having some balance stance just because CC is something you kick yourself when you don't have it, when you need it. So that's how I go for that. And finally, the headbutt. The headbutt is what really brings this build together. This is why you would want a Berserker instead of going to another line. The Berserker is a stun break. We already have balance stance for a stun break there, but having a 20-second stun break is amazing. I've already mentioned the crate runes there. They inflict bleed, poison, and torment for 8 seconds to nearby foes. So I believe that is multiple targets as well. And that procs on the headbutt, which is super fast and evade. Now, I will mention about the headbutt is the proc on the crate runes. They proc as you activate the headbutt, and the headbutt is on a half a second cooldown before it hits. So you'll see it procs the 3 conditions first, which will get rid of a blind if you have it, and then the headbutt will go through. Of course, you can pop stability before that and get around things like plague signet and stuff, and dodge roll and stuff. It's a fantastic synergy. It's not much of a secret that crate runes go with headbutt, but for those of you who don't know, you just got to try it out. Crate runes proc through block as well, so even if you go for a headbutt and your enemy is smart enough to dodge, they're still going to get they're not going to get burnt, but they're still going to get tormented, they're still going to get poisoned, and they're still going to get a bleed. And don't forget that crate runes also stack bleed for 10 seconds on struck, so even if that's on a 15-second cooldown. So there is a lot of bleed there, there's a lot of synergy. It maximizes your adrenaline. So a usual, if I just show you this now, the usual way of doing this when engaging a target would be to pop your fire, go into that, and then of course you've got the headbutt and that and that. It's an amazingly devastating attack, and you've still got, even after that, you've still got shattering blow left, and you have all of your CC and sustain left, and you can switch back and you can leave, you can fuck people up, and it's a fantastic way of melting people down instantly. I would recommend this build, and to anybody who says that Berserker is a poor trait line, you should try using it in Condi for bleeds and other stuff, because it does some serious damage. And I think that's going to be it for now. So try it out, guys. It's pretty cool, and I'll see you guys soon.
Baby, in your dreams, I'm deep inside of you. You should finish this.